Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hello Hosty podcast. Today I am joined by Vernon Corum of staycating.com, based out of the Smoky Mountains. Thank you for joining us, Vernon.
Thank you for having me, Clive. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So let's jump straight in. And why don't you start by telling us a little bit more about you and what it is that staycating.com actually does?
Okay, well, I'm a property manager, much like yourself, and as you said, I'm located in the Great Smoky Mountains here in East Tennessee, and we have about 12 properties that we manage personally, and then I have a lot more that I do consulting and coaching for as well, all over the United States. I'm also an advisor for a tech company or two, and I've also got some other things I do around here. But being the founder of staycating.com, my primary focus every day, obviously, is much like yours, is to be a property manager and to take care of my guests.
Yeah. And how long have you been doing the property management for?
Well, I've been around it pretty much all my life. My mom was a cleaner, and she did a lot of things with her business, and so I've been around the hospitality industry in some way or form a little over 30 years. I'm much older than that, but I've been around it in
Yeah.
that regard. I was in the corporate housing space prior to that, and
Okay.
it's a lot like it. The midterm stays, that it's more of a midterm type stay, but that's
Okay.
that's where I got my start.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it's not often that I meet somebody that's been in the game longer than I have. And you've been
Hmm.
in the game significantly longer than I have. Yeah, so it's quite refreshing to jump straight back in there. It's quite refreshing to meet somebody who's been in the game a long time, such as yourself. Um,
Hmm.
so what does staycating.com actually do? I know that you said you do consulting as well, but that is your property management company?
It
Yeah.
is. And what I do, that a lot of people call me the short-term pro. I actually wrote an ebook about guest management. What we are really focused on with our properties is we have an experience that's attached to a lot of our properties. Being where we are, we have a lot of lake properties, we have mountain properties, and then we have some that have different experiences attached to them. Basically, what we have done is we've tried to create a local experience for our guests. So when our guests come, we want to make sure that they understand where the best places to eat, the best places to play, the best places to hang out.
Yeah.
So the philosophy grew out of being able to be very guest centric and be very guest minded. So if we take on a property, the first thing we talk to the owner or the investor about is we talk to them about the guest experience and what a guest experience does their property provide. Because anyone can put a property on Airbnb and Verbo and those sorts of things, or on your direct site like we have, and you can do that and you can make money, but for some reason I think a lot of times people forget about the end user. So that's where we start. We begin with the end in mind, the end user in mind, and we work our way backwards. So the first questions I'm asking my owners, my investors, as a property manager is what experience comes along with this? What is your challenge? What do you think that the guest experience should be like? And I ask them to go stay at their property or look at their property from the guest perspective and see how they can make it better. So that's kind of where all my background began in this, was providing the top level 5-star guest experience.
Yeah, superb, and it makes such a difference. Like that's
Hmm.
totally the right way to do it. To start with the guest
Hmm.
experience in mind, start at the end result, and work
Hmm.
backwards from there. I've
Hmm.
noticed that with
Absolutely.
a lot of property owners who are involved in this, want to be involved in this, have kind of like a misconception over their property that it's
Hmm.
perfect and it's the best thing it could ever be, and then you walk in there and
Hmm.
you're like, really? I mean, if you arrived,
Sure.
if this wasn't your place, you probably wouldn't be saying that. Um,
Hmm.
so what is the biggest challenge you face in business today? What's your bottleneck?
Much like everyone else, you have challenges. Obviously, we offer the 5-star experience with every property. We have good controls in place. We have system processes, great boots on the ground, but occasionally you still get those guests that are a little extra. You get that in the business, and that's something that, we all deal with, and we all deal with the folks that are like that. But on top of that, I think, just the day-to-day operational things, as you well know, we were discussing prior to the podcast, the day-to-day operational things, without having good systems and processes in place, it's very hard for someone as a manager to do this job effectively, as either one person or even with a staff, if you don't have all the tech in place and have all the things that you need in place to make that happen.
Yeah,
That's usually my biggest
absolutely.
challenge.
Yeah. So basically automation, systemizing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
yes,
absolutely
absolutely.
key. Yeah, that's absolutely
Hmm.
key. We found
Right.
that to
Hmm.
scale is you can't, without the right systems in place, you'll be running around chasing yourself in circles. So,
Right,
so,
right.
so what do you actually spend most of your time doing as a host?
Well, because I have a lot of my systems and processes in place and the automations in place, my job really is, as the owner of my company, and as I'm also a real estate agent as well. So I'm always out looking for new investors, new owners, and I really am about the guest experience. There's a lot of times where, the guest experience is very vital to me. So if I don't have the people in place, I'm the one reaching out. I'm trying to fix those problems myself a lot of times. That's unheard of, in this industry. A lot of times people don't want to take care of it as the owner or the founder and the person in the company. But I do really think that that's super important. But on the flip side of that, my day-to-day operational things are to take care of my investor, to take care of my owner, because once I get them to believe in the process, to believe in the system, and believe in what we're doing, then it's easier for me to market the property and to show value to people when they're building out their brand, as I call it. So yeah, most owners, I think, don't get the whole bigger picture a lot of times, and I think the biggest thing is understanding the owner's day-to-day involvement, or the month-to-month involvement, and that'll vary between owners. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to pick owners that get it but want me to handle it, if that makes sense. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm out there every day, and as a manager and as a real estate agent, I'm out there looking for those kind of clients that get the fact that the property needs to be prepared for guests, and the property needs to be ready for guests, and that each property has the experience connected to it that gets us everything that we need. And we have to have everything clicking on all cylinders in order to make this work. And my day-to-day operational things are just to make sure that all those things are going and in place. Sometimes, if you're a problem solver, it can get a little overwhelming sometimes, so
Yeah.
it's good to know that you've got good support systems in place and good tech in place. But all in all, you still have to have the human element. You still have to have the personal touch and the personal side to that. So that's what I really feel like my day-to-day thing is, just to be more personable and to be there for folks that need me.
Yeah, yeah, that's a it's a very important point. I remember I went to a home away. It used to be home away, now Verbo. Went to a summit of theirs about 10 years ago in London, where they said the number one factor in a good review was staff attentiveness. So that personal touch, that kind of giving it the attention to the guest, I can totally see the value in that, as you say. Um, so looking back, what advice would you give yourself when first starting out?
Oh wow. I would have gotten more involved in the management side of it, because I did start out as in the cleaning side and the staging side, and doing those sorts of things. But realizing that residual income was available to me, uh to do that as what I was pretty much already doing anyway. I was handling all of it anyway. So
Mm,
early on, I wish I had actually thought a little bit more about that and got involved in that side of it. Ultimately, I'm here today because someone asked me to co-host their properties with them almost 4 years ago,
yeah,
and it's really it's been an amazing journey for point A to point B. I have learned a lot about the management side of it, but a lot of it was I was already doing it. The guest services was the only thing I really wasn't
yeah,
doing, and I've got most of that automated now. So
yeah.
that's really the biggest thing I wish I could have done in the beginning was get more involved in that side of it, so I could have more control and have more things in place for that.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you. The management side, or co-hosting management, it's a
Mhm.
fantastic place to be in the business, particularly if you can manage to put yourself or your company in a position whereby you're not the where the buck stops with regards to maintenance, check-ins, cleaning. Because I see this business in two halves. I mean, there's probably more, you could break it down further, but there's two halves from what I see. There's like the online digital stuff, which is like the guest communications, the marketing, and then there's the physical stuff, which is like the cleaning, maintenance, the property side of it. And those two businesses, one, they both generate money, but one of them takes a lot more running around and
Mhm.
work than the
Mhm.
other.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, so the management side, the co-hosting element for us it's been really a useful thing to recognize that there's one side of the business we can try and outsource and step back from as much as possible, and sort of really step into the marketing side, getting things right, and the communications, that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. I mean, like you were talking about the automation, which I want to ask you a little bit more about. But when you can automate the physical side of the business, that can kind of free you up to do more on the communications and the online bit. So talk to us a bit about your automation. Do you have any tips, tricks, or hacks that you could offer, advice you could offer to other
Mhm.
property managers on that front?
Right. Well, full disclosure, I outsourced a lot of mine to Jetstream Hospitality, and they do a lot of the management side of it for me on the guest communication side and the automations. They brought me software and tech, and they've done all of that. Before that, I was the automations that I have, I outsource it out to a technical company that does a lot of that for me. But from the day-to-day standpoint, I'm still very involved in that process. Go back, ask me the question again. Sorry, that threw me
So
completely off there.
the
So
the question
yeah.
that I have for you is talk to us a bit about your automation and what does that look like for you in your tech stack?
Okay. Oh yes. So in my tech stack, as I said, I outsource a lot of those processes and systems to a hospitality company. And where we are with that is that we're trying to build a vertical for real estate agents, especially to be able to manage the market and monetize properties. But what I do with that business is I look at the overall functionality of it, and I'm always trying to figure out what's the best practices for my business and what's the best practices for the day to day. You've got to have all the tech in place. You've got to have the dynamic pricer. You've got to have the automations, the controls, much like what you offer, a great service that you offer. You've got to have that in place where you've got communications with guests going on. Sometimes that can be automated, but again, going back to the bigger picture, all the automations, all the auto triggers, and all those things that are in place does not replace the human element when they need someone there to help them out. So I'm really big on that. I don't, all the systems and processes and all the automations that are available to us. There's so many of them out there that are available to us, but really something is missing when you don't have that human touch and that human element.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, with our product, the AI assistant, it can respond up to a level like an assistant that would maybe be based overseas. But when a challenge comes up that it doesn't have the answer to, or if it's a complaint, or if it's an element of the physical management of the building that needs attention, at that point, our software notifies the property manager and says,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, we've got a guest over here. We need a bit of your attention. We need your eyes for a moment." And
Mm-hmm.
so it can carry 90%, let's say, of communication, 95% communications. But obviously for that other 5%, which will require somebody turning up to the property with a fresh
Mm-hmm.
pack of linen, or a plumber going out to solve that leak under the sink,
Mm-hmm.
then obviously that you need a real human to take care of those parts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what kind of experiences are they offering up in the Smoky Mountains? You spoke a lot about experience.
Well, with experiences, with our lake properties, we want to make sure that they've got everything they need. They know where the local marina is. They know all of that. We've got a lot of zip lining and things around us, and a lot of people we just try to figure out what they're looking to do when they come on vacation. Some people just want to stay at the property. Therefore, we have games, we have things there for them to do, pool tables. Some of our properties have pools. Some of our properties have all kinds of amenities right there on site. So there's that element. When someone wants to just stay there and just hang out at the property, we want to make sure they have that experience. But
Yeah.
when they're wanting to go out and be in the community and do things in the community, we ask questions like, do you want to go, hang out at the ski resort, or do you want to go like travel around shopping? What do you want to do? And so with all the properties that I coach and I consult, that's the biggest thing we're always asking folks is, what are you planning on doing when you get here? Because a lot of times, if someone's new in an area, you know, they don't really have a clue what to do, and they can get advice on social media, or they can look at reviews or whatever, and see things online. But again, there's something about asking those questions up front. We already kind of know what kind of persons are coming to our property, what type of guests are coming there. We have a property that's located just north of me here, and it's all about a 4x4 experience. So people
Mm-hmm.
can bring their side by sides and they can ride. There's trails close by. We tell them how to get their to get their licensing for a couple of days to do it. So I think when you go the extra mile, to offer those extra benefits, and it's really we're not ever even offering them tickets or anything like that. We're just letting them know where to get them. We
Yeah.
may end up adding that at some. They don't even know what they want to do when they get there, and some people will have it all mapped out and planned out, and then they'll ask you for advice. So I like to be ready for either type of guest. I like to be ready if there's one that has absolutely no clue what to do, and then I like to be ready for the one that they've already got an idea. Maybe there's a restaurant they'll mention and say, "Oh, can we go to this restaurant?" And I'll say, "Well, that's being a local. That's that's not maybe the best choice. There are better choices and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
from that perspective, that's what we believe in with our guest
Yeah.
communication, and offering them an experience either at the property or figuring out a better place for them to go when they're out in the community, out and about in traveling and doing things off
Yeah.
site, off property.
Yeah. Have you heard of a company called Mount?
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I was speaking
Hmm.
to Maddie last week, in fact, and it seems like that would be the perfect kind of. Do you
Hmm.
use it?
I don't, but I've
Yeah.
actually had discussions with them.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that when we bring in a tech like that, it all matches up. But yeah, I think they're a
Yeah.
great company. I think Mount
Yeah.
is a wonderful company.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, like upselling things like I mean, you mentioned lakes in Smoky Mountains, so kayaks, SUPs, this
Hmm.
kind of stuff.
Hmm.
I'm sure
Hmm.
that would be a great because I mean, recently 2 weeks ago, my family and I went and stayed on a lake property, and they had kayaks, which was amazing fun. Like
Hmm.
I'm a
Hmm.
pretty adventurous guy. I like doing stuff like that, and so for me, having that access was great. So yeah, in
Hmm.
terms of your
Correct.
comments about guest experience, that's completely on point.
Absolutely.
So, Vernon, I'm going to draw the
Hmm.
podcast to a close there. Thank you so much for joining me today. If
Hmm.
people would like to find out
Okay.
more about you or about your business company, how would they go about doing this?
Okay. The best place usually to find me is Facebook or social media. Vernon Corum is my name, and then my company is staycating.com. And some people call me the short-term pro. So I think if you were to keyword search any of those right there, you would be able to find me pretty
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, Vernon.
Thank you, Clive.
Thank you.